Hey there, fellow cinephiles. It's Josh the Merc Rainer here, and it is episode number 40 of Talkin Schmoedown. Got a big episode today. Got the last three matches of round 2 for the Ultimate Schmoedown Teams Tournament. Some crazy matches. It's fantastic. I am super excited to get into it. So, as I say every single episode, let's get ready to talk Schmoedown.
Let's get ready to Schmoedown!
Alright everybody, this is episode number 40 of Talkin Schmoedown. I am your host, Josh the Merc Rainer, owner of Merc with a Movie Blog, and I am so excited to get into everything today. We got a jam-packed week full of great stuff. But before we get into all of that, a little bit of more somber note. This past week, we lost one of our own, Ms. Emma Dollface McAllister. You know, she was big in the fan leagues, the trivia fan leagues. She was big on the like SEN Live and in the Schmoedown Facebook group. Fantastic person. She passed away this past week. She'd been sick for a while. So I'd like to give a moment of silence for Emma. All right, thank you, everybody. If you guys haven't been able to yet, I believe that they are doing some sort of donations for her family. So find whatever you can. If you can help out in any way, please do. Emma, you will be greatly missed. And I'm sorry that we didn't get to know each other and better. I know a lot of you out there who are listening probably had some great interactions with her. I had a few, but not a lot. But I always heard her come up on like SEN Live and stuff like that, asking questions and whatnot. So, and I would always see her posting in the groups and stuff. So, my condolences go out to her family and to her friends. And it's a terrible thing that when we lose one of our own. So, all right, and there's really no good way to transition into this, so I'm just gonna hop into things like I usually do. I do a little bit of news first. I have a couple of things that I wanted to mention. First is a new episode of Profiles is up on Patreon right now for those of you who are patrons and able to access the Profiles videos. They just put out one about the history of the singles championship, so definitely go and check that one out. And also, for the $10 and up patrons right now, the Holiday Exhibition match has officially dropped. It's got Janine, the Machine, William Bibbiani, Rachel Silvestrini, and Tom Dagnino. Yes, I said Tom Dagnino. Not 100% sure why it's him, but hey, why not? Check that match out. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm actually pretty excited to see how it all shakes out. And before we get into the matches, I want to play this clip from the interview over on one of our other shows, Afterlive, with former singles champ William the Beast Bibbiani, who we will be talking about later on during one of his matches as well. So check out this clip, and then we'll be right back.
Let's talk about the Schmoedown now. It's actually been 3 years since you debuted this year. So what is your favorite entrance have you done throughout your career and this year?
Oh, geez. I've done a lot of entrances, I'm not going to lie. Probably my favorite, just because it fulfilled a fantasy of mine, is the MST3K entrance. In my title match against Mark Andraco, I convinced them to take a public domain film and allow me and Whitney Seibold to do a 2.5 minute riff on a movie, and then the gag is I missed my cue and I need to run in. And I'm a huge MST3K fan. It was very influential to me, and so being able to do that was just a thrill, and I actually really love the way it came out. I think it turned out great. Some people say that entrance is too long. That is the point. That was the gag. It was supposed to be the point. Some people, I loved watching the reaction videos because half of them were like, this is delightful and I never want this to end. And the other half were like, it's too long. It's so long. Get back to the show. I'm happy with that being divisive. As for this season, I've had some really good ones this season. I really love the way the Leonard Maltin entrance came out.
Oh, yeah, that one.
I really love the way the Monsters, Inc. entrance came out. However, there's at least one entrance that no one's seen yet. At this point, it's no spoiler to let you know that our next team match is with the Odd Couple. And the kid and I came up with a pretty funny idea for that. And I hope it turns out as good as it was in my head. Because if it does, I think it's going to be, I think it has the potential to be a favorite. I think it's really, really clever. And I don't think anyone's ever done it before. So I'm hoping that will end up being my favorite. But if not, yeah, probably Monsters, Inc. I've been trying to get that one done for like a year and a half. And it just finally came together because we were one of the first matches of the season. And everyone had a little extra production time. And I had room to film some extra stuff, and Screen Junkies was kind enough to let us come over there and shoot something in the middle of one of their shows, and it was great.
Yeah, what is like the white whale of openings that you really want to do for the Schmoedown that you couldn't?
That is an excellent question. I would love to do a step up entrance. Like, that's my fantasy. Like, I want to like recruit
oh my gosh,
a whole team of b-boys or whatever. The problem is, I'm finding enough good dancers and good material for them to dance to, and also the amount of stage we have in the actual Schmoedown studio. There's not like a ton of space for people to do some crazy dance moves and a lot of stuff. Like, we're not seeing the ground a lot of the time. It's a TV studio. There are wires and things, and it might not be safe. So that's something I really want to do sometime. Maybe if I get like a larger live stage, like the stage they had in Houston where it was literally in a wrestling arena, that would have been perfect. And if I'd been there, that would have busted my butt trying to put that together. I would have finally had the space necessary to do a huge, crazy dance number. But so far, it is not to be.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for checking that out. Be sure to head on over to anchor.fm/movieblogmerc and check out Afterlive, episode number 41, so you can hear the entirety of that William Bibiani interview. Is fantastic. Be sure to check that out. All right, so we're going to get into match number 1 this week, and this was a highly talked about match throughout the week, and that was the Family versus Paddington 2. So we got our opening scene. Kaiser still at Universal looking for Kalinowski. This is something that's been going on for a while now, and I really have been kind of digging what they've been doing, and it will continue throughout this week. He's on the phone with Eric Zipper because he needs a ride. Smets comes up, tells him that Mike is nowhere to be found, but Kaiser ain't having none of that. He sends Smets back out, and then is confronted by Brandon Hanna. He tells him that the smart thing for Kaiser to do is to draft him. So not only are we getting managers going out and trying to recruit, now we're getting players going out trying to get recruited. So I really like that they're kind of sprinkling that kind of stuff in throughout this kind of stuff, throughout these scenes that they've been doing. Not just these Kaiser Smets Universal Studios scenes, but just in general throughout the scenes. We've been seeing a lot of that. A lot of possible recruitment stuff going on. And it's really interesting because the draft is going to be insane, and I'm pumped for that. So my question is, where does Brandon Hanna's allegiances lie? We first saw him agree to be on the Horsemen, the fifth member of the Horsemen. Then we find out that he signed a contract with the Family. And now he's over here going to the dungeon trying to get recruited. So obviously this guy, he doesn't have any allegiances. He's just going to go where, whoever he thinks will benefit him the most. So he's definitely not a trustworthy person. You don't want the hitman. I don't think I would want the hitman on my team because he may backstab you. He may just turn and decide, you know what? They're offering me something better. Peace out. I'm gone. Which it seems like is what he's been doing, jumping ship over here over and over again. So we've got Ken and Emma on the desk for this one. Out first was the Paddington 2, followed by the family with Robert Meyer Burnett and Brandon Hanna. No big entrances or anything, just came out, did their thing, sat down, get ready. They got ready to go. So we're gonna hop right into round number 1. This was, it was an okay first round. Both Drew McWeeny and Alonzo Duralde did pretty well, with Drew getting 7 and Alonzo getting 6. Guy and Atchity not quite as well. Guy getting 5, Atchity getting 4. So we wound up a 12-10 round 1 in favor of the family. I gotta say, I was surprised that they held up that preposition rule with the descent, between descent and the descent. Like, I understand, I know that, if it's a single word title, it's got to be, but I feel like even recently I've seen them not uphold that. But maybe I'm forgetting something, or maybe I didn't actually see. But for some reason I feel like there was a recent one where they didn't, they gave somebody the point when they didn't have the word "the" in front of a single word movie title. But I don't know. I was like, wow, they're really sticking to it, and I'm glad in general that they're sticking to rules, because that's what really kind of creates a lot of controversy, and that's why I'm really glad that they're doing a physical rule book for next year. So maybe stuff like that, it'll all be set in stone, and I really do hope that they make the rule book available to for the fans to read, just so that, as we are watching, we know, okay, that was a legal ruling, you know what I mean? Or, hey, they blew that call because look at the rule book. Things like that. I really am hoping that we do get to see that. It was, like I said, it was a decent round for both teams, but not spectacular. When you could have a total of 18 points per team, having a 12-10, it's not quite where you want to be. But they're both pretty close to one another, so at least it's not some big shutout. At the end of round 1. So we get into round 2. Family defers, which is something that they do quite often. Paddington 2 spins Christopher Nolan and respins and lands on Kurt Russell, which does them really well here, as they get all 6 questions for 11 points. They only go to multiple choice once. They had a fantastic round, and they jump up, ending their portion of round 1 21-12. They've got a 9-point lead at this point in the game. So then the family goes up and they spin comedy, and they stay with it. I was a little surprised. I mean, Drew McWeeny, he's pretty much good at just about everything, so it's not totally surprising. But, most of the time I feel like you want to kind of see what else you can get. But, if they landed on something that they feel comfortable with and they don't want to risk getting something that they don't feel comfortable with, it's totally understandable. And they do quite a good job here getting they also get all 6 of their questions for a total of 10 points. They go to multiple choice twice. However, on their second question here, the question was challenged as it claimed that Rodney Dangerfield played Adam Sandler's father in Little Nicky, when in fact he was his grandfather. The challenge was upheld, and the family was given a new question. However, Drew did ask for a clarification on the question that he did not need if he had listened to it. So what I'm getting at here is I don't have a problem with the challenge. I think the challenge was perfectly acceptable. Rodney Dangerfield, it said father, but he played the grandfather, so the question was muddled. The question was incorrect, and so they threw it out and gave him a new question. Perfectly okay with that. The thing that I had a little bit of a problem with here is the fact that Drew asked for clarification on the question. And like I said, if he had been listening to the question, he wouldn't have needed that. But the problem is that they did not get charged a repeat. They didn't get charged a JTE rule for this. And, you know, that could make a game. It really theoretically could. You know, maybe that having that extra JTE rule could give somebody the edge to come up with the answer that they really needed. You never know. But it should be a rule that if you need something repeated, if you need clarification, you should be asked if if you want to use JTE, because also theoretically he could have been like, they could have been like, do you want to, you'd have to use a JTE rule for that. Do you want to do that? He could have decided, no, I'll risk it and I'll go with what I think I heard, and maybe he's wrong. Who knows? Anything could happen. But they gave him a free repeat there, and I'm not a fan of that. I don't like when stuff like that happens. You gotta stick to the letter on these things. If you're gonna have a rule book, you gotta stick to it too. You know what I mean? So I hope that in the future they really stick to their stuff here. So round one ends 22-21. The family up by 1 point. So Paddington 2 closed a little bit of ground there, getting within one of the family. And so then we get into round number 3, and this is where things get interesting. Both teams answer all 3 of their questions. So it gets down to it. At the beginning, what happened is we got to the very last question. It was the family's 5-point question. The question was asked, who was the sole survivor of the Dirty Dozen in the movie The Dirty Dozen? And they answer, the family answered Lee Marvin. They were told they were wrong. And so then, because of that, Paddington 2 had won the game. So as, they're announcing this and everything, and the family, walked up, Matt actually gets on the mic, and he says, whoa, hold on. I can't in good conscience win this way, because Lee Marvin survived, was a survivor in that film. So, so he challenged their own win. Paddington 2 challenged their own win, which is something that has never happened before. This was unprecedented. So, they deliberated for a while, and they decided that, because of all the stuff, everything just was a little too muddled, so they threw the question out, and they asked the family a new question, in which they got right and won the game. Now, here's the thing about this. It was revealed later on, afterwards, and I think it was SEN Live, Christian talked a lot about this, that when they kind of went back and really dove into it more, Lee Marvin wasn't actually a member of the Dirty Dozen. He formed the Dirty Dozen. He got all the people together. He was kind of like their manager, if you want to say, of like a faction. But he wasn't one of the 12. And so them saying Lee Marvin was, in fact, incorrect. And it wasn't a bad win. It wouldn't have been a bad win for the Paddington 2, the way that Atchity overthought it and cost himself the match unnecessarily. He stuck his foot in his mouth with, I get it. He wanted to do the right thing. He's a noble dude. But the thing about it is, you're playing in a game. It's a competitive game, and you are playing to win. You didn't cheat. It is the way it is. They didn't notice it. Yeah, I understand maybe it wouldn't have set right with you, but it cost you the match. It cost you the rest of the season. Theoretically, the Paddington 2 could have been on their way to Spectacular. Maybe they'd have walked away from the Spectacular with a title. Who knows? But now we will never know what could have happened, because unfortunately he stepped up to try to do the right thing, and unnecessarily lost the match because the right thing wasn't actually the correct answer. So it is what it is. Family wins. They remain now undefeated, and they move on to face Who's the Boss in round 3. So we got former brothers going at it. Ben Bateman, Andrew Guy, former teammates. They are going to be facing off against one another in round 3 of the tournament. Another thing that happened on SCN Live that I want to mention real quick. It was a little bit of kind of behind the scenes, almost spoilery stuff that was going to happen, and who knows, could still happen. But Christian talked about what their plans were. Guy, him and Guy were backstage talking. This is right before Ashty challenged everything. Apparently what the plan was because the family lost, Guy was going to go out and turn on Robert Meyer Burnett because they lost. They were undefeated, and this loss was going to cause him to essentially break up the family. I mean, I don't know if McWeeny would have gone with him or what would have happened, but Burnett, Guy was gonna turn on Burnett. Obviously, that didn't happen. It did seem like there was a little tension there. You could see it when they lost, and Burnett comes out and he's consoling them or whatever. You could see some tension. So I'm like, I can see that maybe that's what was going to happen during the post interviews, but it didn't. So I'm curious, because they've got this match with Who's the Boss. If they lose that match, are they still going to do it? Or is it something that he's going to just completely scrap? I don't know. I'm interested to see if he kind of gave away something or not. So yeah, I do, on my bracket, I do have Who's the Boss winning. So if my bracket, at least that match of my bracket, stays intact, then we may get to see a Guy turning on Robert Meyer Burnett and kind of essentially ending the family. Then we also got an ending scene for this. Kaiser and Smets still at Universal, playing that water gun dog race game, and they're asking kids if they know Mike Kalinowski. It was really funny, really quick. I like that they're just kind of doing these little vignettes essentially, and I really hope that somebody takes them all and pieces them all together so I can just watch one long video of them at Universal looking for Mike Kalinowski. I think it'd be hilarious. So then we get into match number 2. This was the Loony Bin versus the Time Machine. This was a pretty funny match. I think this was the best that we have seen the Loony Bin as far as character stuff goes. They work so well together, and I think they're really in a groove now. So we get an opening scene, the Loony Bin being weird as usual. There's really no other way to explain it. Accusing Janine of being an actual machine, of course. Pretty hilarious stuff. They actually went back and forth on Twitter a little bit about this. I thought that was pretty funny. The Loony Bin gives one of the best promos of the year. If you're one of those people out there who kind of skips over that stuff, go and watch this promo. It is fantastic. I am definitely gonna be rewatching that, and I hope that, I don't know if they're gonna do a best promo of the year at the awards, but if they do, this one is definitely one of the tops, I think, for me. So for this match, we've got Christian and Mark on the desk. Out first, we've got the Loony Bin. Tom just going on and on about asking people if they want to see a dead body. Pretty funny. They were doing it during the promo, which is, like I said, one of the best, so definitely watch that. So they were followed by the Time Machine with Jay Washington. Nothing crazy from them. They did their normal freeze frame high five thing. And then they sat down. Video Drew gave Janine some WD-40, which I thought was great. And he gave something to Ethan, which honestly I don't know what it was. They didn't really show us what it was. I have no idea. But yeah, the WD-40. And then she gave some other gifts throughout, like a charging cord, and looked like some earbuds and some nuts and bolts, apparently. Because it's Janine the Machine. She's an actual machine. That's how it goes. So we get into round number 1, And it starts off, I mean, inside the match, it doesn't start off controversial. But it starts off controversial for me. Because the very first question, Video Drew should not have gotten points for her answer. The answer to the question was The Chronicles of Narnia, which is the movie. That is the name of the movie, The Chronicles of Narnia. And she wrote down and said, so if you look at her board, it says Narnia Chronicles, and she says the Narnia Chronicles. Two very different things. You know, it's not the Narnia Chronicles, it's the Chronicles of Narnia. They're very different. It's not like, okay, you got the Lego movie. It's not the movie of Legos. You can't say the movie of Legos and have that be correct. You can't be switching the title around just for shits and giggles. You can't say the Impossible Mission Fallout. You know, it's Mission Impossible Fallout. You know, so it's the Chronicles of Narnia versus Narnia Chronicles. There's an issue in the next match where there's a challenge that has to do between the word the and the word a, in the letter A. And if that can be challenged and thought of, then this should have been. I don't understand why they didn't catch that, or why, like, neither the judges caught it, nor did Time Machine catch it. And I'm wondering if it's because they thought that because she's Video Drew and she's just being weird, so she said the Narnia Chronicles, whatever. She said it weird, and they didn't look at her board, because her board says Narnia Chronicles, not the Chronicles of Narnia. So, I don't know. I didn't like that she got that point. And, I mean, in the end, it could have changed things. It definitely would have made the ending different, because the two teams would have been tied at the end if this had been upheld, or if they had either caught this or had been challenged and upheld, and maybe we'd have had a different winner at the end, because they would have had to have gone into overtime. So who knows what would have happened. But so we go through the rest of the round, and it ends 12-12. Tom gets another perfect round and hits his bonus question. This is the second match in a row that I believe that he's gotten his perfect round. He's doing fantastic. This guy has got singles run written all over him, man. So we end up ending round 1 13-12 in favor of the Loony Bin. What thing that I found kind of interesting about this match, or at least this round, I should say, both members of the Loony Bin scored the exact same amount in round 1 in both of their tournament matches. Video Drew got 4 points, and Tom got a perfect round with his bonus for 9 points. And they did this exact same exact same amount of answering in the previous match as well, which I thought was interesting. So we got into round number 2, and the Loony Bin spins monster movies, and they decide to stay. I thought this was a perfect category for them to land on. It's just, I don't know, it just seemed perfect to me that the weirdos of the Loony Bin landed on monster movies. I thought it was pretty cool. And Tom is a force to reckon with. Holy shit. Clears out this board, all 6 questions, all 12 points. Man, like I said, he's a force. And I gotta say, the managers would be smart to snatch him up in the draft. Honestly, if you can't have both members, get Tom. He is a powerhouse, and I think you could stick him with anybody and probably have a great team. You know, if you know how to work your teams right, I think it could really do well to go that route. So then we move on to the Time Machine. They spin Tom Cruise and they stay. They also go completely just roughshod on this thing. 6 questions, 12 points. Both teams completely perfect round 2s. Holy shit. I couldn't believe it. This was fantastic. the only person so far to just go completely perfect. Tom getting every question right so far. He pretty much dominated his round, portion of round 2. And then the Time Machine just did a great job with Tom Cruise. Man, this was a hell of a round 2 to watch. I couldn't believe how good they both did. So then we get into round number 3, and both teams miss their 3-point question. It's the first miss for Tom. Tom was the one on the 3-pointer. And so it comes down to Loony Bin's 5-point question. The score at the moment is 31-27. If they can get the 5-point question, then they win the match. If they miss their 5-point question, then Time Machine wins. And they hit their 5 without any issues, and the Loony Bin wins 32-31 and moves on to round number 3 of the tournament. Now, as I was saying before, if that very first question had been judged properly, and Video Drew had not been given the point that she should not have gotten, then right now it would be tied 31-31, and they'd be going into sudden death. Now, anything can happen in sudden death, and who knows, maybe the Time Machine pulls it out here. Maybe they wind up being able to go on to round 3. I don't know, but it didn't happen, and the reason that I'm upset about it is because this is sure, it's just a 1-point question, but it would have changed the outcome of the game. Even if the Loony Bin had, won in overtime, it still would have changed the outcome of the game because it would have gone into sudden death. There would have been more to it, and so I'm just really, I don't know. I'm really kind of bummed about the way that turned out. I have no problem with Loony Bin winning this match. That's great. They deserve it. But I don't like that, some people get penalized for certain things, rule-wise, and other people, it just kind of glosses over and they don't notice it. They got to be more, paying more attention to this kind of stuff. So, during the post interviews, Video Drew kind of talks about how, if you want, someone great on your team, do it the old-fashioned way and dig up their body instead of building them, as a robot or whatever. That's pretty much, I'm paraphrasing what she said. I don't remember the exact words that she used, but it got me thinking. Tom kept talking about, do you want to see a dead body? Do you want to see a dead body? Is the dead body his? Is he the dead body? Is he just a reanimated corpse in this storyline? The way Video Drew was talking, that's the way it could sound. And I think that actually would be something fascinating. If they're going to go kind of weird and dark with a storyline with them, I don't know. I think that would be really... they're already going weird, with the whole thing. And, he only goes by Tom. He has no name, no last name, or he's just Tom. There's nothing else to him. So, if they're going to lean into it, I think they should really lean into it. And he is a dead body. He is a reanimated corpse answering questions, and Video Drew is the one controlling him. I think that would be fascinating. I really hope that's what happens. So we get an ending scene here. Kaiser and Smets still at Universal. This time, Kaiser is trying to convince Smets to steal and resell a bunch of watches. And I was like, oh, holy shit, this is great. This whole thing, this is why I said, we need to get this whole thing just together so I can just binge all these vignettes as one fun little video. I think it would be great. I can't wait until it's all, I'm sure somebody out there will do it. And I really hope it's soon. So now we're going to get into our final match. Match number 3, Shazam versus the Odd Couple. Opening scene, of course, Smets and Kaiser again. Smets is trying to convince Kaiser to go on a ride. Then Brienne, I think it's the Transformers ride. Then Brienne steps out from behind the camera, says something to Kaiser, whispers something to him, and it convinces him to go on the ride. Have no idea what she says, but whatever it is, convinces him to go. And she says, even managers need coaches sometimes. And it makes me wonder, is she gonna, like, not be the 10th manager, but maybe join the dungeon as Kaiser's, like, quote-unquote, like, life coach, making sure things are on track and everything? I think that could be neat. I don't know. I'm interested to see something like that. So this time around, we've got Ellis and Ken on the desk. And during the promos, I noticed something. Mark and Draco, who's wearing a green shirt, it activated the green screen, and it looked like his head was just kind of floating above his body. So, like, he had a hoodie on, so you could just see essentially the chest was open, like with where his shirt was, and you could see the background moving. Like, every time he'd move, it's like there's a hole there, and his head's just floating because he was wearing a green shirt. And I'm surprised that they don't catch something like that. I mean, I'm sure they don't have like an actual wardrobe department or anything like that, but maybe just tell them, hey, zip up the hoodie all the way, because it's, like I said, if that green is there, his head is floating because they use a green screen, so everything just kind of disappears. So it was kind of weird, and I was like trying to transfixed on it. I was like, I couldn't stop looking at it. It was really funny. So out first we had Shazam with a bolt of lightning. They appear at the desks announcing the announcers, which was great. They even have a tail of the tape for Mark and Ken, and with another bolt of lightning, they were gone. And at they got back to their tables where they're going to compete. This was fascinating. I love this entrance. It was awesome. Boom, they're there and they're doing the announcing, but they're announcing the announcers. They're announcing Ken and Mark. They did, like I said, they did tails of the tape for both of them, and they're like looking around like, what is going on here? How did we get here? And then all of a sudden, boom, they're gone and back. I thought that was one of their best entrances. And as you guys may have heard, if you listen to the clip from the William Bibbiani interview that they did over on After Live, he talks about this. He doesn't like really spoil it because the match hadn't aired yet when they did the interview, but he talks about this entrance and how much he loved it and hoped that it would go over. And I really think it did. So yeah, be sure to go over and check out After Live to hear that whole interview as well. Then out comes the odd couple. Jeff is in a white shirt that says "Eat Shit" in like some like fancy curly lettering, and his boxer shorts. His reasoning for this is that he doesn't need pants to beat Shazam, to beat William Bibbiani, I think specifically he says. So yeah, he's literally just out there in boxers and a t-shirt. Yep, that's Jeff Snyder for you. So we get into round number 1. And it's a pretty close match. However, the odd couple does stumble a few times. The problem is, the odd couple wound up with 13 points. Jeff with 7, which is damn good, and Mark with 6, which is still really good. The problem is, when you got a team like Shazam, you've got to get every single possible point you can. These two guys nailed perfect rounds, both of them, both getting 8 points, both of them nailing their bonus for the total possible that you could get as a team of 18 points. That's rare. And I even asked Frank, I was like, has there ever been a Frank Janish from Schmoedown Rundown? I asked him, has there ever been a match, because I couldn't remember one, but I was like, Frank would know. Has there ever been a match where all 4 competitors in a team match scored perfect rounds? It's never happened. We got 2 of them here, and almost a third with Jeff. If he hadn't missed that Mozart question, he would have had a perfect round as well and possibly gotten that bonus. So that's something that I'm really hoping we get to see maybe this upcoming season. I think that would be awesome to see that. That's something to strive for, everybody. Get those perfect rounds. But yeah, man, taking a 5-point lead at the end of round 1, especially up against a team that did great here, with 13 points, with the odd couple, that's impressive. And I've always been having the backs of Shazam. They are the ones who I have going all the way in this tournament. I even have William Bibbiani going all the way in winning against Bateman at the Spectacular. I had him as the top of my bracket for both of these brackets. Which, if that happens, that means Bibbiani is playing 3 matches at the Spectacular, which is insane. But we'll see. So we're gonna get into round number 2, 5-point lead. Shazam, taking everything, in the lead here. They defer, and the odd couple spins, with Snyder going up pantsless, of course. They spin Scarlett Johansson, and they stay with it, and they do really well actually. They get 5 out of their 6 questions for 10 points. They do go multiple choice on the one they missed, but luckily for them, Shazam was unable to capitalize on that steal. Now, there was a little bit of controversy here. We've got the final question. It got challenged. Shazam claimed that Andraco said the girl with the pearl earring instead of saying the girl with a pearl earring. But because they don't have a way to do a playback, they decided, that Mark either going to go with what they heard. Mark said that he heard them say so that's what they're going to go with, and they gave them the points. Now, I did rewind it like 3 times and listen to it, and I gotta say it's really hard to say because you've got with and with the. Now, he's not saying the girl with the or the girl with a pearl earring. He's saying the girl with the pearl earring. So that could have been the girl with the girl with a pearl earring, or the girl with a pearl earring. The girl with the girl with the girl with and the girl with the. They sound the same when you're saying them fast, and that's the problem there. I do think that was a tough call, and I also think that it was a good challenge. The kid, he throughout the whole rest of the match, even into the exit promos, he was beating himself up about this. And it was a good challenge. They heard Mark heard and honestly, I couldn't tell. It was because of it being prefaced with the word with. The TH at the end of with makes the whole thing blend together. It blends together with the because it starts with TH, and it blends together with the because the TH and the sound like the. And he's not saying the. They're not saying the girl with the pearl earring. They're saying the girl with the pearl earring, or the girl with the pearl earring. You know what I mean? So saying it fast, it all blends together, and so it's very difficult. And I know it's going to be controversial. I do think that, like I said, I think it was a good challenge. But I do think it was probably the right call for the judges because there's no real way to say. The only other thing they could have theoretically done was thrown out the question and asked them something new, but it didn't have anything to do with the actual question. It was the answer that they gave, and I think that it's too inconclusive to dock them the points for it. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Hop on Twitter at @MovieBlogMerc. #Talkin Schmoedown. Let me know what you guys thought. Do you agree with this challenge? First off, do you think it should have been challenged? And do you agree with the decision? Should the challenge have been upheld, or do you agree with Odd Couple getting the points? Let me know. That's at @MovieBlogMerc on Twitter. So then we move on to Shazam's round. They spin opponent's choice and are given dance movies, which I gotta say, I was shocked because knowing Bibbs, he loves dance movies. I mean, if you listen to the interview that we do with him, he even talks about his he talks about his dream entrance that he wants to do, and it's like a Step Up themed entrance. He loves those kinds of movies. And so, they thought, maybe it would be difficult, but maybe they didn't realize that that's something that he loves. Now, they didn't do fantastic in this. They did okay. They got 5 out of their 6 questions for 8 out of 12 points. They had to go to multiple choice like 3 different times. And the one of the times that they went multiple choice, they missed. And but thankfully for them, Odd Couple was not able to capitalize on the steal. But it could have gone a completely different way, because like I said, that's something. Those are the types of movies that he genuinely loves. So the fact that they gave him that category kind of made me wonder if they weren't completely up on the types of movies that he's not good at. Or if they just thought, well, out of these categories, that's probably the most difficult. But I don't think it necessarily would have been the most difficult for someone like William Bibiani. I don't know. Like I said, they still did really good, and they are still in the lead. They are up by 3 points here, 26-23. So, I mean, it didn't prevent them from keeping that lead. And so we get into round number 3, and the vibe of these two teams at this point in the game, polar opposites. Both members of the Odd Couple are just like super serious and kind of, and they don't look like they're in a very good mood. And it's because they're losing, and I get that. And I think that challenge probably peeved them a little bit, probably pissed them off a little bit. It is what it is. That's the game, guys. You got to deal with that. But yeah, you could tell. And, Shazam on the complete opposite side, they're happy and cheerful, but that's how they always are. So it was a real interesting contrast to see. And so, like I said, we get in round 3, and it's a powerhouse round where they just go through and get both teams just clear out and get every single question correct. It was something special to watch. And because of that, Shazam wins with a 3-point lead, 36-33, in a hell of a match. This is definitely, I think, going to be a contender for best match of the year. It was fantastic. I loved it. I couldn't believe how good it was. Shazam, as a team, only missed one of their own questions total. They both got perfect rounds in round 1. They both did, they had a full perfect round in round 3, and they missed only one question in round 2, not including their missed steal opportunity. They also set a points record here for a 3-round teams match with their 36 points. So that's pretty fantastic. And because of all this, they will now move on to face the Loony Bin in round 3. So we've got the Loony Bin versus Shazam. We've got Who's the Boss versus the Family. And that's all next week, and then we'll have the finals on that Friday, leading right into the spectacular. It's going to be great. So we also had an ending scene. The final scene of Kaiser and Smets. They're finally leaving Universal, disappointed that they didn't find Mike Kalinowski. Then as they leave, Mike rises up from behind a donut cart and smiles. It was a perfect ending to this little trek that they had going on. It was awesome. I loved it. So that about wraps everything up for this week of Talkin Schmoedown. Next week, like I said, we've got both matches for round 3, which, like I said, Loony Bin versus Shazam and Who's the Boss versus the Family, plus the Ultimate Schmoedown Teams Tournament Finals, which for my bracket should be, hopefully, I'm hoping that this part of my bracket stays intact, is Shazam versus Who's the Boss, with Shazam winning. So that's what I'm hoping for. But we will see come Friday. And then also be sure to catch the Schmoedown Spectacular on Saturday, December 7th. 5 huge matches. William Bibiani versus Ben Bateman in a number 1 contender singles match. Alex Damon versus Laura Kelly in a Star Wars title match. Mike Kalinowski versus Kevin Smets in the Inner Geekdom title match. The Founding Fathers versus the winner of the team's tournament in a team's title match. And Paul Oyama versus either Ben Bateman or William Bibiani in a singles title match. It is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. That almost marks the 1-year point for Talkin Schmoedown as a podcast because, I mean, it's coming a little earlier than last year, but the Spectacular is the event that I started on. That was my very first episode, was the Schmoedown Spectacular 3 on, I posted it on Christmas Eve, actually, on December 24th. So that, technically, December 24th will be my 1 year. But, you know, because it's going to be the Spectacular, you know, when I do that episode, I'm going to say, I'm going to count that as essentially my 1 year anniversary. And that actually won't be for a couple of weeks, because next week I'll be talking about the 3 matches from this week. And then the following week, once everybody's able to see the Spectacular, is when I'll do my episode for that. I may try, depending on when he lifts the spoilers, I may try to post it a little bit early. We'll see what they decide there. So, again, thank you. This has been episode number 40 of Talkin Schmoedown. I am your host, Josh the Merc Rayner, and we have been Talkin Schmoedown. Catch you next time.